All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I am back to show and prove to you that a very intelligent and clever perpetrator framed the Ramsey family and tried to get away with extorting, or should I say, tricking the Ramseys into giving this perpetrator $118,000 as part of this intricate frame-up. Let's start with what we've heard about this case over the past 20 or 25 years or so. Doesn't matter what documentary you see or whatever book you read. Matter of fact, there's a new Netflix documentary coming out soon. Guys, don't waste your time. You're going to get the same old, same old. These people keep arguing about whether a Ramsey did it or it was some sort of kidnapping that went wrong. That's the only thing we've heard for over 20 or 25 years. Two theories that makes absolutely no sense. I already told you why Ramsey did it makes no sense. Because there's no cover-up. They use their own pen. They use their own paper. They use their own paintbrush, left that around their own daughter's neck, and we're going to call that a cover-up? That makes no sense. No one can explain that, no matter how hard you try. There is no cover-up there. You're not going to use your own pen, your own paper, take your own paintbrush, put it around your own daughter's neck, and just leave it there. And then expect that the cops will come and think an intruder did it. That's ludicrous. And as far as the kidnapping gone wrong goes, absolutely makes no sense. Where did kidnapping go wrong? The perpetrator got in the home, undetected. Perpetrator got hands on the child, undetected. Perpetrator had a chance to go out of the door, which is located directly at the bottom, a few feet away from the staircase where the ransom note was found. The perp walks right past the butler door, which was actually found ajar that morning. Somebody had went out that door, but this perp walks past that door all the way to the basement. For what? To jump on a suitcase, to climb out of a basement window? That makes no sense. You just walk past the open door with the child. Why would you go to the basement and try to climb out of a basement window by stepping on a suitcase? That makes no sense at all. You just walk past the open door to go all the way out of the way to the basement. Kidnapping is not a motive here. This perpetrator had a chance to kidnap but did not do it. You know, a lot of people want to ask, why didn't if this was a kidnapping, why didn't they bring their own pen and paper? Makes no sense. No pen, no paper. They used the Ramsey's pen and paper. Again, kidnapping going wrong. It makes no sense at all. And I also want to cover all of these false confessions. John Marcar, Gary Oliva, all of these people who claim to confess to this crime. Hey guys, I want you to do this right here. Every person who confesses to a crime, okay, and never mentions this frame up is not confessing. The Ramseys was clearly framed. And if all these people want to talk about is JonBenet this, and they wrote a poem for JonBenet, but yet never mentions JonBenet's name in the ransom note, they claim Gary Oliva wrote a poem titled "Ode to JonBenet," but wrote a 2.5-page ransom note and never mentions JonBenet's name. In the ransom note, JonBenet is only John's daughter. Why is the ransom note addressed to John? Why is the anger at John, not JonBenet? She's never even mentioned. It's at John. So again, all these confessions are fake if they never talk about why they framed the Ramseys. because the Ramseys was clearly framed. Now, watch all future confessions are going to talk about how they framed the Ramseys after they hear this video. So, forget about those confessions. Forget about a Ramsey did it. Forget about a kidnapping going wrong. None of that makes any sense. We're going to talk about the only theory that makes sense. Somebody framed the Ramseys. Okay. This perpetrator created this frame up as if it was a movie plot. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. The perpetrator actually put movie quotes in the ransom note. Movie quotes in the ransom note. A movie-like plot. We don't get to choose our criminals. Our criminals are who they are. This criminal put movie lines in a ransom note and is now trying to carry out an intricate frame up, movie-like frame up of the Ramseys. Okay? This intruder did not leave any signs of forced entry. This intruder didn't want it to appear as if anybody was even in the house or entered the home at all. No signs of forced entry. This intruder used the Ramsey pen and the Ramsey paper to write a ransom note when there's no kidnapping. Okay? Why would we have a ransom note when there's no kidnapping? Well, it's because the kidnapping, quote unquote, was only meant for an audience of two, John and Patsy Ramsey. This perpetrator wanted John and Patsy Ramsey to think this was really a kidnapping. This is why in the ransom note you get lines like, "She's being watched by two gentlemen at this moment. Her body will be withheld for proper burial." This intruder is trying to scare the Ramseys into following the ransom notes, not calling the cops, not calling friends, with these lies, these lines about what this perpetrator will do to JonBenet if they don't follow the notes. Okay? So the kidnapping part of this case was only meant for John and Patsy Ramsey. It's not meant for you. It's not meant for me. It's not meant for the cops because when they show up, they will see right away it's not a kidnapping. Once again, if you are saying the word kidnapping in this case, this means you have been tricked by this very clever perpetrator, because this kidnapping is not even for you. As soon as police arrive, they will see it's not a kidnapping. They will find JonBenet, and they are supposed to arrest the Ramseys. So, the frame-up part of this is for you, is for me, is for the police. So when the police arrive, they will see JonBenet in the home, arrest the Ramsey, and then the public as a mass will be tricked by this perpetrator to believe that a Ramsey did it. So, kidnapping is only for the Ramseys to follow the ransom note and not call police and not call friends. The frame-up part is for you, me, and the cops. Okay. I already stated, this perpetrator apparently took JonBenet down those spiral staircase steps apparently left that ransom note there, and then walked past the butler door, which they could have just went outside and continued down into the basement. Okay? Once down in the basement, there's that mysterious suitcase that everyone wants to talk about under the basement window. People believe they wanted to put her in the suitcase and take her out the window. What sense does that make again if you just walk past the open door on the first floor to go all the way to the basement? No, that makes no sense. But apparently the perp did try to put her in the suitcase because there was materials from the suitcase found on JonBenet as well. At one point, somebody tried to put her in that suitcase. I say the facts show that it's not to take her out of the home. He had a chance to take her out of the home already. They walked past the door on the first floor. It looks like this perp tried to hide her in that suitcase, to hide her, conceal her until the Ramseys follow the ransom notes. She's hidden now. The Ramseys think she's kidnapped. Hopefully for this perp, they won't be calling the cops her friends. Unfortunately for this perp, they did. But it looks like JonBenet may not have fit in the suitcase. So on to plan B for this perp, to hide her in the furthest back room of the basement, possibly. Cover her with her favorite blanket, again, pointing to the Ramseys. This blanket, white blanket that was found with JonBenet, again, points to the Ramseys. She's in the home. Okay. The perp puts the garrote around JonBenet's neck with Patsy's paintbrush attached to it, leaves it there. Okay, so we got the blanket, we got the ransom note written with the Ramsey pen and the paper, we got the paintbrush now put around her neck and left there for cops to find. Okay, we have the kidnapping note when it's not a kidnapping, for the Ramseys to follow it, to try to trick them into following it. It's just a very diabolical crime. I mean, just the fact that this perp tried to put JonBenet in a suitcase proves JonBenet was going to be unalived either way, because she was not going to survive in a suitcase. This perp tried to hide her in a suitcase or put her in a suitcase. This means she was going to be unalived as part of this plan either way. And the Ramseys were going to get framed for it. It's a pretty scary thought. Okay. There has been some who say she was hit upside the head and her skull was fractured with that flashlight, possibly, that was sitting up on the countertop. Well, there you go. If that's the case, the flashlight is now just sitting out on the countertop for cops to find. Nothing's hidden. Nothing's thrown away. The paintbrush is left around her neck for cops to find. Apparently, this perpetrator now feeds her pineapple, because now she has pineapple in her stomach. Yet we don't know where this pineapple came from. There's no pineapple rind. There's no pineapple can. There's no pineapple container. The Ramseys state that that's not their pineapple. They don't know where it came from. They don't have any store receipts that pineapple was bought by the Ramseys. They don't have any store video that pineapple was bought by the Ramseys. No store employee said they sold them that pineapple. They don't even have a container in which the pineapple came in. And yet people are trying to say that JonBenet was taken out because of the pineapple. Well, the pineapple doesn't belong to them, and the pineapple has never been proven to belong to them. The pineapple implicates them just like everything else in this crime. The pineapple appears to be a part of this crime to frame the Ramseys, because this perpetrator apparently walked out with whatever kept that pineapple fresh. We don't know what kept it fresh because the cops have never told us, and it's not our job to assume what kept it fresh. I've heard many people try to tell me, well, maybe they threw it down a trash compactor, or maybe, no, it's not for us to sit here and decide. That's the problem with this case. Too much speculation. The cops need to tell us the facts. What happened to it? And until they do, this pineapple is a mystery that appears to be a part of this frame up of the Ramseys by a very intelligent and diabolical perpetrator. So, the frame up is in place, and now this perp is trying to get $118,000 just to show how narcissistic this perpetrator is. This perpetrator does not need $118,000. This $118,000 is just icing on the cake to stick it to John Ramsey even more. This perpetrator knows there's a high probability, like 99.9%, that they will not be getting $118,000 because the Ramseys are most likely not going to follow the ransom note. This perpetrator has to rely on the Ramseys following the ransom note in order to get $118,000. This perpetrator left the body behind in the home. So this tells you, and it should tell all of us, that the money is not the primary motive here. The money was a hope. The money was a secondary motive. And many people say, well, why didn't they ask for $1 million? Well, I found out long ago that to ask for $1 million creates a lot more paperwork, creates a lot more red flags, creates a lot more time to get. And hauling around $1 million to haul around, he already told him the delivery would be exhausting. Imagine how much exhausting it would be hauling around $1 million. That $118,000 has meaning to this perpetrator. Okay? It has meaning. It means something to the perpetrator. It means something to John, and he's sending John a message. Because even if the $118,000 was just a bonus for John Ramsey's Christmas, the perp could have easily asked for $200,000, but he didn't. He asked specifically for $118,000 to send John a message, to let John know, subliminally, however you say it, in a subliminal way. John, you know what this is about. This is why he speaks to John in metaphors. You know, in the ransom note, he's sending John, speaking in code, only things that he and John would know. This is why he has to know what's going on in this crime. He has to know. He's not telling everything. So this is a very sinister crime by a very diabolical perpetrator. He framed the Ramseys with everything in the home, okay, and then made an attempt to get $118,000 from the Ramseys by tricking them into thinking JonBenet was really kidnapped, like she was really taken. Thank God the Ramseys did not follow the ransom notes. I've heard people say, well, the Ramseys, the note says don't call the cops. They called the cops right away. Thank God they called the cops right away. Because if they followed the ransom note, they wouldn't have called the cops. They wouldn't have called friends over. They would have more than likely gave the intruder $118,000. After that, JonBenet will be found hidden in their home with their garrote, their paintbrush around her neck, the ransom note written with their pen and their paper, okay? The pineapples in her stomach, the flashlight that supposedly cracked her skull sitting right there on the countertop. Nothing's hidden, nothing's covered up, nothing's thrown away. This is a master plan. And this message is to the perpetrator that committed this crime. I know you're out there. I know you're still alive. You thought you were so smart, and you would have gotten away with this frame up. Nobody would have ever suspected this frame up. Only a very few. But you can't outsmart God. And it's the only way I seen the frame up, because it was shown to me by God. So I delved into it, and it's now out for the whole public to see. You aren't as smart as you think you are, especially when it comes to crimes. Okay? Stick to the white collar crimes, because these types of crimes just aren't for you.